Grateful that you could make time to join us this morning. We are coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlemle on DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 144, and around the world at myjoyonline.com. We start off on a rather sad note. The body of a toddler, Mohammed Awal, was retrieved Thursday morning from flood waters that left part of the Ashanti region capital inundated. The floods that carried the toddler away followed 3 hours of torrential rain Wednesday night. Nanaya Ojima reports a former mayor of KUMASI, Samuel Sapong, is among residents whose properties were affected in the floods.
A search party from the KWABENA Municipal Assembly, together with family of the toddler, found the child's lifeless body few meters from the scene of the incident. In his first year of assuming office as city mayor, Osei Esibe Entry earmarked a demolition of about 400 structures built on waterway, but no action has been taken yet. Paraku Estate in the Insheso constituency is one of areas affected by the rain due to blockage of a waterway for building projects. The private developer, according to residents, has filled up the waterways and demarcated them for sale. Former Ashanti Regional Minister Samuel Sapong, whose home was affected by the floods, says attempts to stop the development have yielded no results.
I have approached them on several occasions. Apart from that, I have officially reported this to the Metropolitan Assembly, but no action has been taken.
Mr. Sapong explains his administration commenced a demolition exercise which should have continued.
We realize that people have actually built on the banks of the river, and that was the reason why it overflowed its banks. We arranged excavators and bulldozers. We went there and they demolished almost every building around that place. But now, just go there and then see.
Areas such as Daban, Patase and Atasomaso in the Insheso constituency were submerged. Traders at the Atasomaso market, one of the affected areas, spoke to JoyNews.
Everything I sell was destroyed by the flood. We will plead with city authorities to find solution to this. They should help us. Drainage is poor here.
Assembly member Ejay Kusibodum says poor drainage and building in waterways have been identified as the cause of the flooding.
Last year, when there was a flood, mayor, NADMO officers, engineers, and other dignitaries were here. They made assessment, and the engineers told that there are some burdens that needs to be removed to give way for the water or for the flood. But though they are taking steps, but as at now, that's what they report. But as at now, I think they are on it.
Meanwhile, some residents of Daban have part of the walls to their homes destroyed by the flood. Residents say the challenge started after the construction of the road, which affected the drainage and the filling of a waterlogged area by a private developer. Mercy Ampofo explains.
So it's been a beautiful neighborhood. And the person across me too has a very good control of his property. So it was beautiful. So all these structures started springing up. And then when I complain, it's like we are doing rezoning. Rezoning in waterlogged areas? That is my problem now.
For JoyNews, Nanaya Ojima, KUMASI.
Now, the rains have continued to pour with more communities getting flooded. JoyNews is learning that the new Kejatia market has been taken over by water, and the traders are having to scoop out the water from their stalls. We'll bring you more on that, as property running into thousands of cedis have been destroyed by floods at Kejatia. And yesterday, we know that some flights had to be delayed as a result of heavy rains in KUMASI, and there was intense traffic. Some people had to stay in traffic for close to 2 hours plying on routes that would have taken them ideally 30 minutes. Now, let me bring you that story about the new Kejatia market, which was flooded as a result of the rains.
Kumasi has experienced 2 successive nights of heavy downpour. At the Kejatia market, shopkeepers made an effort to remove any remaining flood water from their stalls after the water receded. Some wares destroyed by the water are moved out, while some are salvaged. Affected traders count their loss.
Lost our clothes, materials, shoes, our hair, a lot.
I saw provisions. Some of them are completely destroyed. The oats, for instance, I have to throw everything away.
Normally be for materials, so they are far, they can have the baby to a boom, maybe a bassa, do our head, the ACR, forming in a restoring.
What the car 1.2?
They make sure that we pay our bills on time. All we need is better service from them. We were moved from the central market because of incidents like these, but nothing has changed. It is the second time the market is experiencing such floods. This is the control room of the Kumasi Kejatia market, and it's part of the administration block here. The whole of the block has been inundated by flood water. As you can see, some of the equipment, that's the computers they use here, had to be taken from the ground onto the tables to keep them safe from the flood waters. The environs of the market, including the central business district of Edum, also got flooded. Other areas in the city were submerged by flood, including Anloga Junction, Dagomba Line, KNUST, and Airport Roundabout. At Santase, Kokoben and Bokrum, it took hours for the rain to recede to allow flow of vehicular traffic. Officials of the National Disaster Management Organization were at the market but will not speak to the media. 3 lives have been lost to the floods in Kumasi in the past 2 months. For Joy News, Nana Ojima reporting.
Now let's go back to our earlier story, which featured the former Kumasi Mayor Samuel Sapong. He joins us on the line with more on what's happening in the Ashanti region capital, Kumasi. Thank you so much for your time this morning, sir. So since you complained about this, and the indication we have is that you've been complaining about this, have you had any response from the mayor or city authorities?
Good morning, and thank you very much for bringing me on your program. As of now, I haven't seen any of the authorities. And it's very, very sad. You see, it seems the authorities are actually sleeping on their job. You see, the main preoccupation of every district assembly is to make sure that the assemblies are managed. And when you talk of management, you are to make sure that the rules and regulations which govern the assemblies are kept, like not building all the waterway. But because of our political experience, they actually refuse to cut the fix when such authorities are flouting. And that is our main problem.
So, Mr. Sapong, in the area where you live, we heard another resident complaining about these structures that have begun springing up and how they are affecting the lives of some early settlers in the community. So, you made a complaint. Yes, there was flooding. Unfortunately, a toddler died around the area. No NADMO officials have been there. Is that the case?
You're right. No NADMO official has been here. And just this morning, to be very honest with you, I discussed with a few friends, and they have actually decided to bring down excavators to at least
itself the areas that have been flooded.
So you have been a mayor of the city before, and in that story we heard by my colleague, you mentioned that you had started some demolition exercises while you were in office, and you left office sometime in 2012. Since then and now, tell us if any work has happened at all, or if you've been able to liaise with any of the mayors who've come after you to make sure that at least that work is completed.
That is a problem. It's just because of political experience. They are refusing to cut the whip. Because if you punish anybody that for building on the waterway, the person will definitely say that I wouldn't vote for you. And because of political experience, you just stand by and then watch. And this is the problem that they are actually facing. As we said earlier, when I was the mayor of this, I realized that there was a school called Osage. People have encroached on the land. We took a very bold step and demolished almost all the buildings. And that actually helped us to expand. And that's now, even if you go there, you see that, people are encroaching on the land.
So, sir, sorry to cut in, but have you or any of the residents in your area made an official complaint for at least the issue of flooding, which we are told is an annual event to be dealt with?
I have made an official complaint. Apart from that, the residents informed NADMO. NADMO came here and then had a discussion with the developer. And nothing was done. Nothing was done.
So do I get the impression that whenever it begins to rain, you and your colleagues who live in that area feel helpless?
Oh yes, because it is a job of the assembly. One, to undertake periodic desilting. But this is not done. I mean, so far as I am concerned, for the past years, I haven't seen any excavator around that place to be undertaking any desilting exercise. And people who build on the walkway, on the waterway, are supposed to be punished. But that is not done because we do not have the political will to cut the whip.
I appreciate your time this morning, sir, and apologies for what you have to endure as a result of the rains in KUMASI, which have caused floods. You heard that Samuel Sapong, he is former mayor of KUMASI, a victim of recent floods in the city. We've been joined by the regional NADMO coordinator, Frank Dodu. Thank you so much for your time. Let's start off from a claim Mr. Sapong made that since the flood incident around the affordable housing area in KUMASI, which led to the loss of the life of a toddler, NADMO hasn't visited the place. Is that the case?
Hello.
Hello, sir. Apologies, sir. I understand I'm speaking to KWABENA NSENKYIRE,
exactly.
Regional NADMO Coordinator for the Ashanti region.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for your time this morning. I hope you got my first question, sir. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir. Okay, so let's start off from that incident involving the toddler who died.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we are told by Mr. Samuel Sapong, who is former KMA mayor, that since the incident occurred around the affordable housing area in KUMASI, NADMO officials haven't yet visited the place.
Good, I would say good morning to your listeners.
And the writer.
who said NADMO personnel haven't visited the place?
And I'm asking you, have you visited the place?
We were the first people to retrieve the body.
Okay. Have you visited the affordable housing area where the former KMA mayor lives, Samuel Sapong, which was also affected by the floods?
No. Honorable Samuel Sapong, doctor, doesn't reside at the affordable houses.
Okay. Where does he
reside at Paraku Estate.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification there. So they experienced some flooding. They have been talking to my colleague Nanaya Ojima, who sent in a report from Kumasi, and they say that you haven't been there. We've seen broken walls and all.
But I don't know where your reporters have been getting their reports from. Okay? I was with Honorable Samuel Sapon last 3 days, was around 9:30 when the disaster occurred. I can even send you the...
Hello? Hello? Oh, too bad. We lost the regional NADMO director for the Ashanti region. I was just putting that concern or claim by Mr. Samuel Sapon himself, who says the NADMO officials have not been there since that incident. And he claims that, well, they were there. Sorry for the earlier mix-up with regards to where exactly that location is. But we've been following the floods in Kumasi. It's been raining there for more than 2 weeks, almost every day. And these rains are not just like what we experience in other parts of the country. We are told these are really heavy rains. I'm told we have the regional NADMO Director for Ashanti back on the line. Thank you so much, sir. So you were saying that you were with Mr. Samuel Sapong?
Yes.
Okay.
Last 3 days, around 9:30 in the evening, PM.
Okay.
When the place was flooded.
Okay.
Yes. And there were a lot of houses that has been people have been trapped in, even including 2 children.
Okay.
So I have to personally, with the fire service, including myself, regional deputy, the 2 IC police commander, Mr. Ajiman Ajim,
okay,
and ASP Abrokwa, divisional commander Central. We were together. They were even, directing the traffic. In fact, I appreciate what the fire service from KUMASI did. The kind of work that they did. The leader of the team was Mr. Pia. They did very well. So we were there. So I don't know where your report. Your report.
I actually spoke to Mr. Dr. Samuel Sapong before speaking to you, and so that's coming directly from him. So I don't know. Maybe we would have to clarify what exactly he means by NADMO has not been there since the incident, because that was his response to me. But let's talk about victims of the floods, because the rains are still coming in really strongly in Kumasi. We are told that flights delayed yesterday, really heavy rains. So you are expecting that this will continue for some time. What are the preventive measures that NADMO is taking, especially to ensure the safety of lives?
Yeah, because this is not the first time this thing has been happening. In fact, Honorable Samuel Sapon's place was flooded 3 days ago. And yesterday to around 4 p.m., we had another heavy downpour. That was twice as much as what happened 3 days ago. You see, and we only have a message for them, that they should leave and go and find a safe haven. Because if you listen to the weather forecasters, they are predicting very much rainfall this season. So we have been, advising a lot of people out there.
All right. So on television right now, we are showing videos of flooding at the new Kejatia market. If you're asking people who live in flood-prone areas to find a safe haven, are you also asking these market women not to go to the market? I mean, what exactly is the plan? I'm trying to find out.
No, we all know that Kejatia is a flood-prone area. And even at the zoo and the racecourse, all those places, it's a flood-prone area. We all know. Honorable Samuel Sapon's time as a mayor is aware. And Honorable, after him, there comes Kojobosu. I was an assembly member. I've been in as an assembly member for almost 19 to 20 years now. I'm no more an assembly member. You know, the money that we acquired to build, the market was meant for central market. The project was meant for central market.
Okay.
But it was, obvious that the money was changed because, everybody knows, every assembly member knows that, or even, the money was meant for redevelopment of KUMASI Central Market. So it was later that we found out everything has been changed to redevelop Kejatia. You see, Kejatia was in a good shape before it was demolished. So this question, the only person who can answer this question is Honorable Kojobosu.
Yes, it's already happened. Right now, people are confronted with a situation. You are the National Disaster Management Organization boss in the Ashanti region. And I'm asking, apart from asking these residents to find a safe haven, what are you doing to also ensure that lives and property are protected? We've seen a video, we are yet to confirm, of people using a very dilapidated bridge which caved in as a result of the flood waters. And so I'm asking beyond the blame game, excuse me to use that expression, we are confronted with a real situation right now. So what is NADMO telling the people of KUMASI who are watching me right now, apart from asking them to find a safe haven?
As I'm talking to you now, all these things borders on security. So we have referred the matter to Regional Security Council for them to deal with it. It's beyond NADMO's, our capacity.
Okay. All right. So for those who've been affected by the floods now, has NADMO been doing anything for them?
Yeah, we have been with them. Those who were affected last 3 days, the victims, we have been with them. And those who were affected yesterday, we are still working on them.
Have you been able so far to provide any relief for those who've been rendered homeless or those who've lost property in the process?
That comes after we have made an assessment.
Okay.
For us to know the number of people that are affected.
Okay. So if I get you clearly, what it is now is that RegSec is going to be meeting over this matter, the floods in KUMASI, and come up with a proper plan on how to ensure the protection of lives and property. There's also the challenge of development and how it affects the flow of rainwater. In one of the reports, we are told that a stalled road project is causing the flooding. As NADMO, how do you liaise with the city authorities to ensure that some of these things are done quickly and properly to avert floods, which results in the loss of life?
Yeah, that's why I'm telling you. The Regional Security Council, the regional minister, being the head of the RegSec, has taken the matter and is going to deal with it.
Okay. I appreciate your time this morning. That's KWABENA NSENKYIRE. He's Ashanti Regional NADMO Director. He's been sharing with us what's been happening in the Ashanti region capital, especially with regards to the rains. And that video I was talking about from somewhere in KUMASI, well, that's it on your screen. It's an amateur video, but in there you see a very dilapidated bridge, a wooden one, and you can see the flood waters almost, taking over the bridge. You can see that it's, at this point, the bridge looks a bit weak in the mid-structure. In there, I'm not sure if you can hear, but I've watched the video, and as more people began to use the bridge, there was a gentleman cautioning them of how weak the bridge is. So there you see people who are being pushed away. At this point, as you can imagine, the recording had to stop, I presume, to try and help to save the persons. We are following the situation in Kumasi closely, and if you live in Kumasi, as we've been told by the NADMO boss, they're forecasting more rain, so please stay safe. And like you heard, you don't want to take risks. If you live in a flood-prone area, maybe you may just have to relocate for a while. Away from the floods in Kumasi, former Power Minister Dr. Kwabena Donkor is accusing government of trying to intimidate him. He says an announcement by the Attorney General that he will petition the CID to investigate him for the GPGC power contract is misplaced. He says just as a raid of his house over the Ameri deal in 2017 amounted to nothing, this probe will equally go nowhere. He's been addressing a media briefing in Parliament.
The judgment that I played no role. Remember, Ghana has encumbered this debt arising out of what the court determined to be wrongful termination of a valid contract. Of all the emergency power agreements, this had the cheapest, the lowest tariff. It had the shortest duration of 4 years. And it was the only agreement that did not require a government of Ghana financial security. As we speak, 3 port lines of Valco are idle. If those 3 port lines were working, they will consume 225 megawatts. Will we have any capacity to even declare excess? As we speak, there is a steel plant that His Excellency the President inaugurated at Pram G5. They are operating only at 30% capacity. Go ask them, they say they don't have enough power. And so how do we turn around for reasons of propaganda and mischief just to paint a previous government black? Why do we turn around? The facts do not support their narrative. ECG says we need 18% of peak demand as reserve capacity, and that alone costs nearly $200 million. So if you take that out, we are left with $34 million. So it's all the excess about $34 million. What we have to do is to analyze figures, is to question figures. Yes, you pay this amount, but what is the breakdown? What do we call excess capacity? We are suffering from an illness of definition. You need a reserve capacity so that when one plant goes down, the other kicks in. And it is an industry standard. The village boy called Kwabena Donkor, you don't know him. You were all here with the Ameri. They raided our homes at dawn. It amounted to nothing. I act in the best national interest. If anybody disagrees, he has the right to investigate. But you don't sit on national radio as the Attorney General, the #1 lawyer of the nation, and try to intimidate people like me. We are not intimidated.
Away from power issues, the minority in Parliament is accusing government of opportunism in its use of middlemen to procure the COVID-19 vaccines from Russia. It has filed a motion seeking a parliamentary probe into the matter. The minority is also demanding a bipartisan parliamentary probe into the Frontier Healthcare Services deal for COVID-19 testing at the Kotoka International Airport. Its leader, Haruna Idrisu, addressed the media yesterday.
We are more incensed by the terms of these multiple illegal agreements, which currently is worrying for our purposes, as we are shortchanged as Ghanaians by our government agreeing to $19 to $26 per jab of Sputnik V instead of the $10 that other countries and multilateral agencies like the AU have pitched some of it. So we can't reconcile it. Only Ghana is paying high amount of $19 to $26 when other countries have paid less, and at least market price should be in the region of $10. And even the quantities, you would have to match it. when he says, for one of it, it is not as if it's the first AstraZeneca where you need a double jab. So even the mathematics of it is also revealing, and we want you to help us probe further into this. We are of the view that the Sputnik contract signed between the Ministry of Health for and on behalf of the government of Ghana and the third party is not in the interest of Ghana. It is not probably the best to justify the safety and health of Ghanaians, and therefore we are calling for a halt and a probe. We have accordingly filed a parliamentary motion to demand a bipartisan investigation and inquiry into the matter, and the report will advise us accordingly what course of action we should take. Accountability, you must demand it. Ours, even as we relate to the facts, you must go behind the facts to get more details. You have already heard the recent response by the Minister for Transport on the floor of Parliament on an urgent question on how a private company, Frontiers Healthcare Services Limited, was chosen. Noguchi could have performed this role at least cost to the state of Ghana. Is a loot and share for family and friends at the airport as far as this transaction is concerned. They probably have raked in a colossal $16.3 million for charging travelers $150 per person. It was further reduced to 50 if you are a citizen and an ECOWAS citizen. And we are told that out of the 16.3 million, the Kotoka International Airport and the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, which is the partner in the relationship, only got $1 million. So what kind of agreement is it that benefits only a private sector individual? He goes home with $15 million, yet you expect us as Ghanaians to make a contribution to a COVID trust fund. You could generate these resources. This money could have come into Noguchi. Noguchi could have strengthened their institutional capacity for purpose of investigating many of these public health malice in our country. Yet they are going away. And even these numbers, we are relating it to passenger numbers, and it doesn't write up. So the media sit up and investigate this. How many Ghanaian passengers have entered the country in the last 1 year? Multiply it plus or minus 150 or plus or minus times $50 depending upon the citizen. But this is a complete rip-off of the state. You enter into a contractual agreement, I'm giving you the space, and we are raising this because Ghanaians who are affected, some struggle, and I give you this genuine example, not out of the politics of it. I was boarding a flight from the Emirates to Accra. 2 Ghanaian citizens were stopped just at the point of embarking on their flight because they couldn't show evidence of a Frontier ticket that they had paid the money. So this is a Ghanaian who is returning to his country. Probably his parent could meet him at the airport, make the deposit of the $50 because it's possible that you could be traveling with less than $100 in your pocket or $50 US. They were stopped, save that they had evidence that they had paid and showed the receipt for purpose of check-in. We are concerned about government not being sensitive to the plight of poor Ghanaians who may be returning home to the country as a result of job losses because of COVID, only to be charged for COVID, only to benefit a private player and not the Republic. We are concerned about it, and we think that you must probe further into this matter. As you know, this transaction was characterized again by the Nana Dankwa government lack of transparency and accountability. When you ask them, they say, oh, COVID, emergency. So under emergency, our procurement laws must stand still. Is that the case? That because there's COVID in Ghana, our laws should not work?
Legal practitioner Tatu Chikata has described as unlawful government's directive to a military task force to burn excavators. Let's hear from him.
That is a nonsense. That is a nonsense because you don't fight illegality with illegality. I mean, a government particularly has to show respect for the law. You don't presume people guilty before you've gone through any process. So you go to an area and you have determined that they are doing galamsey and that those excavators were for galamsey. I mean, you know, what process is that? What kind of legal process is that? And then you just burn them. There's no provision in any law of this country that allows a government. And you know, for me, it is very depressing when an attorney general is the one defending brazen illegality. It's depressing because it does not accord with anything that I have learned as a student of law. It does not accord with anything that I've taught as a teacher of law. It beats my understanding. And somebody should explain to me, and you know, maybe one of these days, I need to sit with the Attorney General and ask him just to clarify exactly how he thinks that the burning of excavators, just, you know, without any notice to the people, without any process that determines that burning them is a legally appropriate sanction.
Speaking at the Central University to students of the Faculty of Law, the legal luminary also commented on the Fix the Country campaign. He said persons leading the protests cannot be said to be speaking in favor or against any political party. He insists the concerns being raised are issues affecting all Ghanaians and they need to be addressed.
I'm not comfortable dealing with these issues all the time just in generality, you know, because each and every one of us has a responsibility to take on the issues that confront us as a country. That's why I applaud young people raising issues about the needs of things that have to be sorted out properly in this country. When people say fix the country, they are not making a statement in favor of one political party or the other. They are dealing with issues that all of us confront and all of us need to address. And so we each have to ask ourselves, are we ready to have these issues addressed or not? The culture of silence will only happen if each of us decides to remain silent.
You're watching News Desk with me, Bernice Abubedu-Lansa. When we come back, Spiky and I will be discussing the latest from the world of technology, including a new Windows 11. You want to know more about that? Do stay. Thank you so much for staying here on News Desk with me, Bernice Abubedu-Lansa. It's now time to talk what's happening in the world of technology, and guess who is here? Kobe Spiky Nkrumah. He's our tech man here at JoyNews, and if you follow him on Facebook, you know he's been talking a lot about the Windows 11 and all he can do with it. So tell us more, Spiky.
Well, so first off, it leaked. There was a big leak. Last week we talked about it, but now it's been announced officially. And there's a whole lot of features that those who are playing with the leaks didn't even know it had. Number one, there's a redesign, which everybody knows. We've seen that the start menu is now in the middle. It looks good. It's very glassy, more rounded edges. And yeah, it's a breath of fresh air for Windows, as you can see. And Panos Panay, who's the Chief Product Officer at Microsoft, was very passionate when he was talking about it. You could tell that he was really in love with the product that they were putting out. And one big news that everybody was talking about was Android apps on your PC. So, you know, over time, a lot of people want to run Android apps on their computer, have to be using emulators or virtual machines that sort of emulate the Android environment, and you run these apps within them in a silo. Now you can natively run Android apps on your computer.
Wow.
It's awesome because now you don't need to install WhatsApp within.
I get it.
You don't need to install if you want to play a certain game or you want to have access to certain Android apps. It's directly available on your Windows PC.
Had to converge everything.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that.
Well, you're almost convincing me to use a Windows now, but I won't be. But let's move on. This week we were hit by some, really sad news. If you started using computers in the early 20s or even a little before that, you definitely would know this man because you may have used his antivirus product, the McAfee antivirus. He was found dead in a Spain prison. Sad news there.
Yeah, and they're saying that it was suicide. He had allegedly been convicted of tax evasion, and he said he knew nothing about it. He felt that it was politically motivated. He's a bit of an eccentric man. It kind of reminds me of the Virgin Atlantic CEO. Very similar, the hair. Except he has longer hair.
Yeah.
And so he was there's a lot of conspiracy theories going around on the internet suggesting that because he was talking about some things that are very sensitive, they don't believe that
he may have been killed. Yeah. But I hear he was actually supposed to be extradited to the US to face charges there. But I mean, as at the time this came up, his lawyer said he didn't know what his cause of death was, and that raised a lot more suspicion. But let's move on to TikTok now. Yeah. And TikTok is big. Look, just this morning, I was thinking to myself, who thought we could have anything that will rival the social media applications we have? People are thinking, guys, because TikTok is just on the rise.
Yeah, I used to think that there's no way another social media platform could come up again and compete with the big three, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. But yeah, we have TikTok. Now, TikTok has been a bit, has been in trouble a while because of their source. They're coming from China. And so there's been concerns about security and privacy.
Especially in the US.
Especially in the US. Now, TikTok has quietly updated their privacy policy in the US and saying that they're going to be collecting users' voice prints and face prints. Now, the US are very, very concerned. Like, why are you doing with our voice prints and our face prints? And so some TechCrunch, they actually stumbled upon this and they tried to reach out to TikTok for explanation. And according to them, TikTok was unable to explain well why they needed this data. But they're saying that, they needed to improve the services, able to identify what's in the image or the video that you're taking, faces, demographics, and all of that. So yeah, we're hoping that nothing nefarious is happening.
Well, let's just hope also that there are no sanctions for TikTok in the US. But thank you so much for bringing us some of the most topical issues from the world of technology. It's now time for business, though Darryl Kwao has all the details. Do stay.
Hello, welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. The Ministry of Food and Agriculture says the Togome irrigation project is expected to generate over 30 million cedis annually. Speaking at the investors conference organized by the Ghana Commercial Agriculture Project, Chief Director Patrick Robert Ankobia, however, said only 4% of the potential of irrigation in Ghana has been realized, hence the need for more investment. There is more in this report.
Acting Chief Director at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, Patrick Robert Ankobia, expressed optimism as he briefed investors that the Togome irrigation project is expected to generate some amount of money annually. He, however, stressed that the prospect of the irrigation system in Ghana is hardly explored.
We expect to see resourceful commercial farmers taking advantage of this opportunity to increase economic activity within the project area and consequently increase paddy rice production levels by 14,000 metric tons, create 12,000 direct and indirect jobs, and improve incomes and livelihoods. Expected is estimated at over 30 million Ghana cedis. In addition, the project will generate demand for downstream activities, including aggregation and hauling services, agro-processing, packaging, and marketing services.
Team leader for the project from the World Bank, Dr. Shehu Salau, said the irrigation project would change the narrative of irrigation schemes underutilized, urging investors to fund the project to help achieve the goal.
We want to change the narrative of irrigation schemes that are grossly underutilized. And that's why we are bringing in investors from medium to large-scale farmers who will, work with our smallholder farmers, bring them, integrate them into the global value chain, and also generate a lot of employment and economic activities in the communities around there.
Meanwhile, coordinator for the Ghana Commercial Agriculture Project, Dixon Tre, is urging government to concentrate on building production capacity in the agricultural sector. According to him, the country's productive capacity is very low, hence the continuous losses incurred along the agricultural value chain.
Our productive capacity is very low as a country. It's not the financial, it's the productive capacity. That's why when we take money from bank and go into farm, we make a loss. What we need is to build the capacity in terms of soil, in terms of agronomy, in terms of seed. We can only do this two ways. We have people who have the capacity, let them bring them in and partner them, so we learn. For a period, we will take over. Or identify those who are capable and also build them as examples and let the others follow.
The Togome irrigation project is expected to provide 12,000 direct jobs.
And that's it for business. Thanks for watching. We will be right back.
So there you have it. It's a great one to look forward to this weekend. That game between Asante Kotoko and the great Accra Hearts of Oak. You know where I already stand, don't you? But you can join Mapito Sibidi, who is on the side of Asante Kotoko when I leave the studios for JoyNews Interactive, and she'll be asking you who you support, and you'll be allowed to share your thoughts with us on that big one coming up on Sunday. Live commentary is at 3 p.m. Don't forget to join the Joy Sports team. But that'll be it for me and my team for News Desk. Thank you so much for your company. Do stay for JoyNews Interactive with Mapito Sibidi.